So good afternoon to all of you. Good to see you for our first meeting of the month, the second meeting of February, regular meeting of our club. Just a couple of announcements to make. We had last week a club contest with table topics, and I would like to thank Maria Teresa to have taken the judge role and playing a key role in organizing that event last week. We had two people who were now can go to the second level, which is the area contest, which is now scheduled to take on Saturday, 13th of March. And if you're interested, and once we hear more information, that's an area club contest, which will group 5 or 6 clubs that are part of our area in Austria, and where our contestants to the table topic contest will speak. But once we have more information on that, we will let you know. And if you're interested to also take a role in that meeting and to be a judge or to be part of the judging team, let me know. I would be interested to have you on board if that's possible for you. So without any further ado, I would like to turn over the meeting to Maria Teresa, who will be the Toastmaster of the day. Over to you, Maria Teresa.
Thank you, Toastmaster Tristan, Mr. Presiding Officer, fellow Toastmasters. It's another Tuesday, another Toastmasters meeting, and I'm so encouraged to see so many of our new members signing up on Easy Speak and also taking roles. Bravo! You're putting the older ones to shame. In any event, we're having an typical Toastmaster meeting. Today, we will only have one prepared speech given by Toastmaster Melanie, who's hiding. And we also will have a table topic session led by Melanie. Now, ordinarily, we should try to avoid this kind of duplication, which is again why I send a message to our newer members, step up. If you need help, approach your mentor. You can do it, I know it. After the table topics, we will have our evaluation section, which will be run by our presiding officer, again in a dual role, Toastmaster Tristan, and he will lead you through that section of the meeting. Other than that, I think we will go straight into it. So I turn control of the meeting to our general evaluator, Toastmaster Tristan.
Thank you, Maria Teresa, for this word. And as the general evaluator, I would like to introduce the team we have today to do the third pillar of our meetings, the evaluation part. We will first have Adot, Toastmaster Adot, who's going to be evaluating Melanie's speech, and she will briefly later on introduce what the objective of the speech are. But now there's going to be other roles which are also be taken. I would like to first invite Julia to briefly explain her role as the timekeeper of this meeting.
Hello, everyone. I am going to be tracking that no one passes the time. And by doing so, I am going to change my virtual background. There is some sort of problem with my camera, so you will see a tetric moving image of me. And then, so, sorry, I forget. So it's 2 colors or 3 colors that we need? There are 3, right? So the yellow, sorry, I am so, forgot this. So yellow would be to let you know that the first warning, and then green the second warning, and then red is that you're out.
Actually, it's green, yellow, red.
Green, okay, green, yellow, red. Okay, thank you for the. As you can see, you can see my background in different ways, but that's the way I'm going to be keeping the time.
Okay. Thank you, Toastmaster Julia. I would like now to invite Toastmaster Ines, who's going to be the grammarian of our meeting today, and to share her role and also the word of the day that she picked.
You're muted, Ines.
Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. General Evaluator, as a grammarian, I will start with the word of the day. The word of the day is indelible. We have written it in the chat for you. Indelible means lasting, actually not to be forgotten. We can use it, for example, when we say the story made an indelible impression on me, or we can say it made a lasting impact on me, or simply it was unforgettable. As to the role of the grammarian, I will be looking at the use of the English language, especially as the use of the grammar, formulations, creative ones, but also correct ones. The the crown for the grammar crown, what is the formulation, Maria Teresa? Is also something I would be looking at. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ines. And I'll turn now to the last member of the evaluation team, will be Toastmaster Jordana, who will be the accounter. So maybe Jordana, can you briefly introduce your role?
Hi, everybody, fellow Toastmasters. I'm still getting used to the hierarchy here. So yes, I will be counting. I'm part of the grammarian role, which is counting the R, I don't know how many other R's in your speeches. So
Thank you,
that's it.
Toastmaster Jordana, for your words and explanation. And now I'll turn back the control of the meeting to the Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Maria Teresa.
Thank you, Toastmaster Tristan. Fellow Toastmasters, and maybe specifically Toastmaster Julia, I was a little bit confused. So I clarify, you will, for the prepared speech, flash the green card at 5, the yellow card at 6, and the red card at 7. For the table topic, the green card at 1, the yellow card at 1:30, and the red card at 2. And for the evaluation, green card at 1, yellow card at 1:30, and red card at 2. Other than that, I'm ready to go. So Toastmaster Melanie, as I said before, is working on several levels in this club. I know her as a very dedicated VP of education and somebody who also tries to get as many people to come to the meeting as possible. Melanie, you're laughing a little bit, you're blushing, but you deserve an awful lot of credit. So I give you a big hand of applause. In the meantime, she's also pursuing pathways, which, let's be honest, not all of us are working on. Hint, 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 hint. She's already on the 2nd level, and I have to go over to another screen to see what it is. She's working on dynamic leadership on the 2nd level. So now I have to go into my own chat that I put the agenda to see the title of her speech and the minutes. Just a second, it should be coming up shortly. And I need my iPad.
I have the
Okay.
title and the other details.
Well, excuse me, but I mean, it's building the courage. As I said before, it's from the Dynamic Leadership Project and Pathways, already on the 2nd level. And the title of her speech is Building the Courage to Lead. And the target time is 5 to 7 minutes. So now I call on Adot to explain to us the objectives of her speech. Toastmaster Adot.
Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. General Evaluator, good morning, afternoon. The purpose of this speech, which is taken from Understanding Your Leadership Style, that's the group of tasks assigned to Melanie, or that she has chosen to do. The purpose of her speech is to identify her primary leadership style or styles. It is also for the member to share some aspect of her primary leadership style and discuss leadership styles in general. So that's the end of it.
Thank you, Toastmaster Adot. So now, without any further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Melanie again from a Pathways project with the title, Building the Courage to Lead. Toastmaster Melanie.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day, Maria Teresa. Building the courage to lead. Well, that's exactly what I had to do in May of 2016. I had never taken an official role as a supervisor before, but I was faced with a challenge. My director came to me and asked me to be the acting supervisor of 12 technicians. Fellow Toastmasters, I'm here today to talk to you about my primary leadership style and to share some aspects of this style. Well, in 2016, May, I wasn't really sure what my style was. In fact, I knew one thing only, that I was scared. I was scared because it was a new role and I was going to be leading 12 men. But then I realized that this fear was not a weakness after all. It was an opportunity to grow. Because when you're given the chance to lead others, it is a journey that you're on in your life, and there's only one way to move forward. But of course, you need to start with a basic skill set to keep you somewhat focused. The skill set that I used, and in fact, I still use today, is actually quite simple, and I'll call it the 3 C's: courage, compassion, and connection. Let me explain my story. Going into this new post, I already had 3 strikes against me. To start with, I'm a woman, and it was an all-male team. Number 2, I was considered a foreigner because 8 out of the 12 men were Austrian, and I'm American. And the third, well, I'm not a technician, and they were all technicians and absolute experts in their field. They were tradesmen. So enter courage. What did I do? I stayed authentic. I let my true self be seen. I was honest and open with the team, and I discussed with them the expectations that were required from our senior management, from our internal and our external stakeholders. We had a job to do. We had to serve and maintain these labs. So I simply showed up. I showed up and I fully engaged with this team. And I showed them my own vulnerabilities. I own the fact that I didn't know what was entailed in their work, but that I trusted they did. They were the experts. I told them I would fight for them, and I would make sure that we got the job accomplished by doing whatever they needed. I was ready to write the statements of work. I ordered the tools and supplies they needed, and I made sure that we captured all the statistics in a document that proved what we were doing. Then came compassion. Compassion meant understanding this learned culture that they had been living in the labs. There was no communication among these men. They were tapping out. They were not sharing, and there was no trust within the team. It's like they were almost afraid to show any emotion, because to them, emotion was a weakness. So I showed compassion by telling them that we have to try to accept the situation we're in. We had so much work and we did not have enough staff. But we had to make sure that we set our boundaries. What were these boundaries? Well, first of all, we had to explain to our customers. Our customers were actually our own colleagues. They were just from other departments, and we had to serve them. But we needed their assistance. We should get away from blaming and shaming each other in meetings, and we should start holding each other accountable for our behavior. And then there came a connection. The connection to care and really connect with the team meant that I allowed them to feel seen, heard, and valued. I called weekly team meetings together so that we could address any of the issues that we were having. But I told them that this connection, the only way it would work is if it traveled in both directions. They have to be open and honest with me and tell me about the projects they're working on. If we failed to deliver on time, which we did a few times, then we had to own this behavior. We had to realize that this maintenance campaign, well, the date is going to have to be pushed to a further time, that sometimes shutting off one machine because we didn't have the correct spare parts was happening, and that it was okay, that we were learning. We, as a team, were learning to rise from our falls, that overcoming our mistakes and the setbacks that we had is all a part of this creative process. From our failures, we learn innovation. We're learning by innovating and doing things differently the next time. My fellow Toastmasters, in your leadership journey, always be ready to learn. Open yourself up to new challenges and become courageous, compassionate, and connected. And don't be afraid to lead, even if you don't have all the answers. So I leave you, as I always do, with a quote. It's a quote from a book that I just started reading. It's called Think Again, The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know. And it was written by Adam Grant. And he has this wonderful quote in the book, and he says, simply, if knowledge is power, knowing what we don't know is wisdom. I leave you with that. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Maria Teresa. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Melanie. I think that deserves some applause. Very profound. You make me wish I had bosses like you, which unfortunately several of them were not, but that's neither here and there. It's now time for everybody in this group to give Melanie their individual reactions to her speech. So I ask our timer, who has stepped away, when she comes back, I will ask our timer to give us 1 minute. Julia, can you please give us 1 minute on the clock for the evaluations of Toastmaster Melanie's speech to be put in the chat? Thank you.
Dear Toastmaster of the Day, the minute is up.
Thank you, Toastmaster Julia. So now she's hardly had time to catch her breath from delivering a prepared speech. We'll be moving straight into the table topics. And what's the purpose of table topics? It's to get us thinking on our feet. We have no idea what's coming at us, and we have 2 minutes to 3 minutes to respond to a question. So now, Melanie, you're not only showing courage, compassion, and connectivity, you're showing flexibility. So I turn over to you to lead us through the table topic session. Toastmaster Melanie.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Maria Teresa. So to share again with you, one of my favorite podcasts that I'm listening to right now is called Unlocking Us, and it's by Brene Brown. She actually has two, but I'm taking this one as a combination of both of her podcasts. And whenever she has a guest on her podcast, she ends with these rapid fire questions. So I had to steal some of hers because they're just so good. And I have 10, and I don't know how many I can call on, but if we're quick enough, I think everybody should get a chance to speak today. So I would like to start with Toastmaster Jessica. Jessica, answer for me within 2 minutes. Vulnerability is?
All right, thank you, Toastmaster Melanie, for this opportunity to speak. I would say, and I love Brene Brown as well, I just read one of her books. I would say vulnerability is indelible because we are all human beings. And for a leader to be a good leader, as you mentioned in your speech earlier, I think they need to show some vulnerability so that the team feels that the leadership also understands it's going to make mistakes, but that as a team, you have to work forward and correct the mistakes and not repeat them going forward. I think a lot of people fall into the trap of hiding vulnerability because they think it makes them look stronger. It makes them look more powerful. But in the end, they're not as inspiring and they are not as motivating as leaders as people who do show vulnerability. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, for that insight. I totally agree. Gordana. Gordana, I got a tough one for you because you're my mentee. You're called to be brave, but the fear is real and you can feel it right in your throat. What is the very first thing you do? Gordana.
Thank you, Melanie, for this opportunity to let me speak on fear, which is exactly what I'm feeling right now, to be honest, in my job, because I have to, I feel like I'm under a big pressure as I have to put on information in a package for senior leadership, and according from that information, and according from mine and my supervisors sort of push or how we present that, it will basically give us the direction of what this agency is taking in terms of environmental sustainability. So that fear is right. I feel it right now. It's part of my everyday life in this period. How do I address it? Well, I used to hide from it, but now I'm really trying to focus on what is it that I'm actually afraid of. What exactly? Go into more details. Go deeper inside. What is it that I'm actually afraid of? What is it that will make my hands shake or whatever the case is? So first I analyze it, like go deeper into it, and then second, I try as much as possible to put myself into those situations even more so that I can, kind of naturally become, so that it becomes more natural to fight it. Joining this team as well is fighting my fears of public speaking, my fears of presenting. Which I also had for a very long time. So it is, I think it is something that we all have it as humans. It is indelible. However, addressing it is what makes us brave. And sometimes it doesn't mean that we don't realize what we are afraid of, but it is actually taking some actions to fight it. and that's where you're more released. That's where you feel more peace. But I think it's something that will always stay with us as long as we're alive, and it's kind of exciting. It makes us more alive as well. That's it. Thank you. I couldn't see I'm sorry, I could not see I couldn't see the timing, so
It's Julia, but it's okay. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Toastmaster Gordana. Thank you for being open and honest and vulnerable. Is my next culprit. Adult. Something that people often get wrong about you. Toastmaster Adult.
Fellow Toastmasters, Madam Table Topics Master. Now that is a truly personal question. People often get me completely wrong when they hear my voice on the telephone. Completely wrong. They think it's a man. They can't tell what nationality, what the hell are they talking to? They just haven't a clue. So that often makes me smile. It happened actually from quite early on. I'd been working for about 2 years, and I had lots of telephone contacts with senior managers and people in the government with whom I would talk relatively frequently. And of course, they had no idea what I looked like. So one day we go to a meeting run by the resident coordinator, and there I am in the audience somewhere, pretty small. And after the meeting, one of them comes over and says, "So you're so-and-so. My God, I thought you would be a really big person, and look at you, you're tiny." And I thought to myself, well, I guess there's a way of projecting oneself when you're invisible, right? There's an advantage to not being seen. It gives you some sense of courage when you're invisible. So sometimes it's a pleasant surprise, sometimes it's not. But that's the one thing that has stayed with me for a long time, this assumption that because my voice sounds the way it is, or because I enunciate things the way I do, or because of the language I use and how I use it, that somehow I'm a bigger person than I actually am. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Toastmaster Adult. Thank you for sharing. Everyone's going to get a turn today, I think. I think we have to do this. This is too good. Maria Teresa, Toastmaster of the day. What's the last show you binged and loved?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics, Toastmaster Melanie, fellow Toastmasters. I don't really watch shows. I'm a TV news addict, and I am live streaming US TV, and I have been totally engrossed with American politics. And I've seen several similarities with Toastmasters and the US Congress. They were talking about a sergeant at arms, and I thought, oh, I know what a sergeant at arms does, Toastmaster Rena. And they were following parliamentary procedure. They only were allowed to speak for a certain amount of time, and afterwards they were said, your time is up. So I felt quite comfortable watching all this US TV, although of course it also had its very sad moments. My heart was breaking as I watched the pictures on the 6th of January of the Congress being basically overtaken. It was a very sad moment, at least in my country's history, and my heart was basically beating very fast, and I thought, this cannot happen again. But we never have anything that dramatic in Toastmasters, do we? Thankfully not. In any event, binge TV, I'm just quite happy with CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Every once in a while, I turn over and look at different people like Newsmax or One American News for a complete perspective of what's going on. But I really don't like TV series. Give me the news any day of the week. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Maria Teresa. And if I could give you some advice, stop watching the news. That explains everything. It's so negative. You should watch Mad Men or the Gilmore Girls. Anna, Toastmaster Anna, our guest from Bratislava today. Tell us about a concert you'll never forget.
It was a really nice concert, I remember. It was, I think, 7 years ago. I think Maria Teresa was there as well, at least one of them. It was a guitar concert I organized for young English artists, and we put up the posters around the town and distribute also to the Toastmaster Club, whoever wants to come. It was a nice cafe. It's still there. Now it's closed, and they have a climbing wall in the back of the cafe. So it's a really nice environment. And we had for the whole evening different kind of performances by this guitar player. And he was really good at impersonating different artists, including Lady Gaga, for example. We had Leonard Cohen interpretation of the songs. It was really very beautiful, and we had a question and answer session afterwards. So there was a lot of fun. We have some hecklers who disturb on purpose the concert. We take them out. It was really a lot of fun with beer, which I don't drink, cake, which I have eaten. I remember those. And I would imagine that we can organize something like that in the not so distant future.
Thank you, Anna. We can hope for more concerts in the future. And sometimes when you see an interpretation of a singer, it's even better than the real thing. At least I've seen that with Madonna, because she didn't even sing. I think she lip sang when she came to Vienna. So Inez, Toastmaster Inez, what is on your nightstand right now?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, Inez, what is on your nightstand right now in your bedroom? What's on your nightstand?
Okay. Do I have to really share this with all of you? You don't want to know. You really don't want to know. I have actually on my nightstand 3 things. I have a candle, because when I want to go to sleep, I should really sleep in peace, and I should fall asleep with a very nice, a nice feeling of, wow, that was a great day. So it gives me peace of mind. It should be an indelible feeling, which helps me really to get going for the next day. The third thing which I have is an ordinary glass of water, because I also see water is the source of life. And I really want to make sure that the next day when I get up, I feel alive and beaming. And the first thing that I would do is drink a glass of water. The third thing I have on my nightstand is a picture of the family. And this gives me really a feeling of, you are not alone. Also in these times, we are never alone, we are connected. And that gives me really also a boost to get going, to get out of bed and get running as fast as I can. Back to you, Mrs. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Inez. I see that Tristan disappeared, so I'll have to get back to him. In the meantime, Monica, a snapshot of an ordinary moment in your life that brings you true joy. Tell us a snapshot of an ordinary moment in your life that brings you true joy.
I would say perhaps when I wake up and I feel that I slept well. And then I start stretching myself and feeling alive and breathing the fresh air outside. That's perhaps one of the nicest moments. And then I quickly go through my day, like the things that I have to accomplish, people that I have to call, or what do I have to do for work? What do I have to do for my family, and things that I have to do at home. So I quickly plan my day, but perhaps the most important thing is when I wake up and I feel alive, I feel that I slept well, I feel healthy, I can stretch, I try to do a little bit of yoga, but not much, like 5-10 minutes in the morning when I wake up. That makes me feel good. And yeah, I would say that's a good start of the day and a very important moment of my day. Back to you, Madam Toastmasters.
Thank you, Monica, for sharing. It's always nice to start the day on the right foot, do some stretching, and really gets your day going. I still have to skip Tristan. I have a great question for him, but we'll come back. So in the meantime, I'm jumping to Julia. Julia, what are you deeply grateful for right this minute? What are you deeply grateful for?
Your Toastmasters? What am I grateful for right now? For those who know me a little bit, you know I am prone to accidents. And just last Friday, I fell down the stairs and I broke my toe. So I am back to being in crutches, which for the last 3 years, something happens every year. And sort of funny, last week I was making fun with my boss that this year something probably happens because every year something happens. So am I grateful for running into accidents all the time? No. But I am grateful for always having a support network that is always there for me, and they're used to me stepping into things constantly. I am grateful that I can call them anytime. I can ask for coffee or soup by my office table. I can ask them if they could really help me just to get some groceries. I can ask for just a phone call to me to complain about how daily life things are very annoying right now. And I'm grateful that they are very patient. This is what I'm grateful for right now.
Thank you, Toastmaster Julia. Gratitude is one of the most important things in life. It's the antidote to fear. Tristan, you're back. I can finally ask you the question we've been all waiting to have you answer. As the leader of our Toastmasters, VIC Toastmasters Club, what is one piece of leadership advice that you have been given that is so remarkable that you have to share it with us, or so crappy that you need to warn us from? Again, what is one piece of leadership advice that you have been given that is so remarkable that you have to share it with us all, or so crappy that you need to warn us from? Toastmaster Tristan.
Madam Table Topics, Master and fellow Toastmaster. One, just one. It's actually very difficult, but let me zoom on one specific that I gave a few times. When you're taking a leadership or a managerial position, my number one advice is be yourself. Be authentic, and don't try to play a role of someone you're not. And let me explain on that. Often we have situations where you're becoming a manager and someone was a manager of the team before you, or there's other manager around you. And there's an expectation, sometimes if the manager was good, that you actually reproduce the same managerial model. And actually it will not work because it doesn't really fit with you and your style of management. So you have to be more relaxed and more authentic about who you are on your management style and just execute to it. And I'll just share an example. When I joined the agency, I had the Deputy Director General, head of the Department of Management, which was Janice Dunley. And she was there for the last 2 years. And then I had Mary Ellis Hayward, who joined and who replaced her. And I had a discussion with her up front and she said, should I continue doing some of the meetings that, or the way Janice was managing? I said, no, just be yourself. If you want to be more direct, if you want to be sometimes more, give different type of feedback, I think you just own it. People and your team will adjust to it. But what you don't want is to be in the situation where you're actually playing someone a role that you're not comfortable into it. And actually it will be felt by the team below. And actually it's not going to be very productive at the end. So my one message is just be yourself, an authentic leader.
Thank you, Toastmaster Tristan. I think that's the best advice we could have for anything in life. When you go into any situation, be yourself. So I'm not sure if Rena's microphone works. So if it's working, I can see if she turns it off, and she does. Rena, you are the last, but not the least. Rena, what is your best leadership quality that you bring to the office every day? Your best leadership quality. Rena, the floor is yours. She looks like she unmuted her speaker, her microphone, but if she doesn't have a mic, maybe she can hold up cards and say what she thinks.
Her best quality is finding helpful colleagues.
Yeah, there it is. Looks like Sharon. Is that Sharon? Or what? Looks like Sharon. I worked with your husband, Lester, in Cyberstore. Oh, Rena. She can't do it, can she? Yes? Working or not?
Oh, it is not working.
It's working.
Yeah.
It's working.
We just heard it. We just heard you.
We heard you.
We hear you.
Okay.
You just need to
Thank-
speak.
Perfect.
Talk.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon, for helping me, fellow Toastmasters. My best leadership skills. My dear Melanie, first of all, I am not a leader. Even though, my bosses, my section head, they always told me I am the boss. Because I am because I am running the section for all alone for a long time. And even once my director even told me, she's the boss of the research reactor section at the divisional meeting, my director. And then I stood up and I told him, the next time you call me boss, I want to see a salary of I want to see the salary of a boss, not of a secretary. Okay, many people believe I have got the leading talents. Even my brother tells me that. But of course, I am not a leader. And if I want to be a leader, my best advice is be honest and work hard for your life, and be grateful for what you have, and do not complain too much about what you do not have. And what else can I give as a leader? And be always humble and polite. And Nelson Mandela, the leader of South Africa, once said, if you want to lead a herd, you do not walk up front, but you always walk behind the herd. So I would advise the leaders to walk behind the herd and to let the others walk before you. That would be my advice. Thank you, Sharon, and thank you everyone for helping me to this. I hate technology. I am sorry. I hate all this technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rena. It was great to hear your voice. And see, being a leader doesn't necessarily mean to be the boss of a department or a section or even a unit. You're a leader in your life. You're a leader in your relationships, in your family. So I think what you said about gratitude and what you've all shared today has really touched all of us, and it kept this theme of leadership. So it really doesn't matter what level you are here at work or in your life right now, you're still on a journey. So keep going. And now to end, I hand the floor back to our Toastmaster of the day, Maria Teresa. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master and Toastmaster Melanie. I was thoroughly entertained, and I found out so much about you. You knew you were an incredible group of people. Incredible. But now it's time for you all to put your thinking caps on and decide who you thought was the best table topic speaker. I will do a recap and refresh your memory of who spoke. We had Toastmaster Jessica, Toastmaster Gordana, Toastmaster Adot, myself, Toastmaster Anna, Toastmaster Ines, Toastmaster Monica, Toastmaster Julia, Toastmaster Tristan, and Toastmaster Rena. Please send your vote for the best table topic to our ballot counter today, who happens to be Toastmaster Monica. And as you're thinking about that, I would just like to mention one other positive quality of Melanie. She's very modest. She hasn't mentioned that in a table topics competition, which included the president of Toastmasters International, Richard E. Peck, she won. And thanks to Anna from Bratislava, who invited us to attend this meeting, Melanie certainly had no idea she would get a question, but she made an indelible mark on me and everybody there. So you still have some time for your ballots until the end of the meeting, but at this stage, it's my great pleasure to turn over to the general evaluator of today, who will be leading you through the general evaluation section. The floor is yours, Toastmaster Tristan.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day. And I would like immediately to turn to Toastmaster Adot, who's going to give us the evaluation for the speech done by Toastmaster Melanie.
Fellow Toastmasters, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Toastmaster Melanie. The objective of your speech had two dimensions. You were to identify your primary leadership style, and you were to share some aspect of your primary leadership style and discuss leadership styles in general. You chose to share your primary leadership style, and you did that with a lot of grace. You also showed vulnerability because you chose to speak about some very personal aspects of your working style. And this is something that makes a speech indelible. This is something that makes a speech also unforgettable. In terms of the qualities of the speech itself, I have three areas I'm asked to look at. One, what you excel in. Two, what you might need to work on. And three, how you might challenge yourself for your next attempt or presentation of a speech. So in terms of excelling, the things you excel at, you had an excellent structure. You followed it and you kept it. You had a good flow in the way you spoke and the way you addressed the issues. Good pace, excellent enunciation, so all of us could understand everything you're saying. And you closed your speech with a very good quote. These are actually the main elements of a successful speech. So you're well on the way to becoming a leadership speaker. You might want to work on timing because unfortunately, I think you you use too much time, and that would disqualify you, unfortunately. So please work hard on that. And in terms of challenging yourself, I only have one more thing to say. I think speaking about other management styles and their weaknesses or strengths and so on, and just bringing the experience from the research world can enrich your speech. So that's what I would ask you to work on for the next 2 or 4 or 20 or 200 speeches you're going to make. All in all, I think that was an excellent speech. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Adot, for your evaluation of this unforgettable and indelible speech. Speaking about timing, I think you also went above time. So let's check immediately with our timer, and I turn over to Toastmaster Julia to give her report.
Thank you, Toastmaster Evaluator. I would start with Melanie's speech. She went over 36 seconds. So in total, she did 7 minutes and 36 seconds. I think in a competition, you would be disqualified. Then we went to table topics. I would say almost everyone stayed within time. Jessica was a bit too short. She did not reach the minutes, and Jordana was over time with 2:47. I would say as beginners, or we're still used to getting the time, then it's always interesting just to pick up, because the most experienced Toastmasters, they actually always follow by average in 1.35. So in average is quite a good time for the most experienced. And Adot as well went over time for 40 seconds. So that's my report of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Julia, for your report. And I would like now to turn to our grammarian, Toastmaster Ines.
Thank you, Toastmaster Evaluator, Toastmaster Tristan. The level of language use was excellent. I have really nothing to report. I have maybe only one suggestion, maybe in the case of Melanie, within the context of her speech and the use of language. She said somewhere, you would fight for them. I would, within actually the whole atmosphere and the mindset you're giving, I would say you would support them fully. That's one suggestion. I have nothing to report except 2 things still. The use of the word of the day, indelible, was used 6 times by Jessica, Gordana, myself, Maria Teresa, Adot, and Tristan. And the crown. I would like to give this to Adot with the formulation, a way to projecting oneself. I think I like that. And that concludes my report for today.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ines, for your report. And I would like now to turn to Toastmaster Jordana to give us her report as the accounter.
Thank you, Toastmaster Tristan. I will, if you don't hear your name, that means that you didn't make any R's, M's, and so on. I will start with Tristan, who had the most, 8 counts of those. And then is Rena, she made 3, and Adot 2. Anna had only 1. The rest were 0. So I will not mention it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Jordana. And it's true that I use a lot of those filler words. And I notice them more and more when I listen to other people speaking. But I still have a problem to correct them on myself. So let me now move to my general evaluation of our meeting today. So a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I did, and I mentioned it at the last meeting, I spoke in front of the membership at the IEA sitting next to the DG into a virtual meeting with all our member states regarding the program and budget of the agency. And after that meeting, I realized two skills that I learned from Toastmaster that were very applicable for me in this formal meeting with member states. And these are part of my evaluation also today. The first skill is the capacity to adjust to changes at the last minute. And this meaning is always a bit, or sometimes and very often the case, where we're jumping with a change agenda at the last minute. People not, signing for role not coming up, or expected speaker and then they're not speaking. So we're changing, and we show a capacity to adjust a meeting which has a script in a fairly rapid manner. And that happened to me in front of the member states. The chair of the board of the governors wanted us to reduce the total length of the meeting. And so I had to basically change a lot of the space allocated for each DDG to speak to adjust for that. So that flexibility of adjusting on the go, it's a good skill that we're learning as part of Toastmaster. The second thing which is important as part of Toastmaster, and which I hated when I joined this club 3 years ago, was all this ceremonial about Madam Toastmaster, Mrs. General Evaluator, and all that stuff, that formality. However, I learned one important thing, and that is in those meetings, when you have to give the floor to other participants, it needs to be clear and it needs to be done in a proper manner. And that's what we're learning as part of those meetings. And you can see we all make mistakes in the way we're trying to introduce ourselves. Like someone called me Toastmaster evaluator, or I'm the general evaluator. So we're making a lot of these little errors, but it's good for us to train on those ones, because actually they become very useful when you run a meeting and when you want to project in a very clear manner how you're introducing someone and when it is time for them to start speaking. Because sometimes we hand over the floor, but it's not very clear that you actually did. So I think here it's an area where we can still make some progress from the speech, from the meeting we saw today. Just a few things. I love the virtual background selected by Julia for the timing. I thought that was quite a clever use of colors of that. It didn't work out very well in terms of, sometimes it projected on her instead of on the background, but I don't know if that was on purpose. A little advice for Julia is don't put your phone on your laptop on your legs, because it keeps doing like like this right now. So just watch out on that perspective. And especially when you see the recording, you will see you're like moving like this. Also, a little advice for the Toastmaster of the day, Maria Teresa. When you introduce the speaker before the general evaluator, before the evaluator, I almost felt you went pretty far in explaining what was the objective of the meeting and the context and the timing, which makes it a bit then difficult for the other person to take over. And this concludes my report of our meeting today. And I return the control to the Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Maria Teresa.
Thank you, Toastmaster Tristan. I appreciated your testimonial, but I'm not sure I agree with everything. In any event, one thing I must comment, Rena, it is so good to see you and hear you. And we have again shown that despite technology giving us challenges, we are also turning it into opportunities. And it was great to see you on board. I hope we see more of you. Other than that, I thought it was a thoroughly enjoyable session. I had a great time. I love meetings where everybody gets a chance to talk. And we did that today. So I'm going to stop talking and return control of the meeting to, no, I'm not. I'm going to ask our ballot counter, Toastmaster Monica, to announce the winner of the table topics competition.
Fellow Toastmasters, I have to say that it was a very, 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 very tight competition. The table topics winner today is Toastmasters Rena.
So thank you, Toastmaster Monica. With this, I believe the formal part of our session is over, which means I return control. But maybe before I do, I just want to mention one thing, if I may. We had got very bad news last week of one of our former Toastmasters who has passed away. If any of you remember Toastmaster Krista, she is a former president. We don't know exactly what the circumstances were, but she passed away on the 9th of February, and she was only 56 years old. Now, I was in contact with Krista, and I had even had telephone conversations, although she had gone back to the States. And I told myself, I'm going to stay in touch. I'm going to, follow up. And guess what? I didn't. So my message to all of you, if there's something you want to do, don't procrastinate. Don't put it off, because you never know. You might not get that chance again. And anyway, in memoriam, Toastmaster Krista, we're thinking of you, and wherever you are, we appreciated what you did for our club. And with this, I return control to the presiding officer, Toastmaster Tristan.
Thank you, Toastmaster Maria Teresa. I think it's very good that you reminded us of Krista. And I still remember Krista joining our club meeting last year, 2-3 times remotely from the west of the United States where she was located. And she looked great, and she participated as usual in those meetings. So it was a very tragic and sad news to hear from that. Except on that, I would like to inform that the next meeting is scheduled, let me just check. It's scheduled on the 9th.
The 9th of March, if my memory serves me correctly.
We have a couple of persons who have already signed up for speeches, but there are plenty of roles for you to take if you're interested to take any roles, to manage the table topics or to manage the evaluation. These are also interesting roles where you have an ability to speak and work on those roles. And don't forget, we also have the area context, which will take place on the 13th of March for those interested to just participate, to listen in, will be a virtual event, or to actually take a role as part of a judge or a backup role if you're interested on that date, will be on a Saturday. On that note, I thank you all for coming today, and I wish you a great rest of the day. And it's beautiful outside, and I hope we'll have a nice spring and a great year with much better news and enjoyment and happiness for all of you. Take care and see you soon.
Thank you, Tristan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
week. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
So Maria Teresa, up.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, let me stop the recording.